The new dodge roll changes were massive, with snapshots, GCD changes, as well as kit reworks, just to name a few. Some like it, some not so much. That does not change the fact that you need to quickly adapt to the ever-changing battlefield. Hi and welcome, I am your resident PvP padding mentor Mossy, here today with one burst or rotation that you must know for all jobs. For clarification, we'll be going over the main AoE rotation or burst for each kit with some exceptions. Each job will be timestamped, so learn to master them all or skip to your preference. Don't forget to pause at any time if you get lost or confused. Anyways, let's get started. Hey, Editor Mossy here. Disclaimer, I will note that these are combos, and if you want a burst, break these combos up and try to make sure that you do your big damage within 2 to 3 GCDs. Starting off the casters, the new Black Mage has 4 variants of its kit, depending on where you stack your fire and ice. The mobility damage variant utilizes the Blizzard Instacast with Reef of Fire, supplementing the damage difference between ice and fire spells. And from one Black Mage to another, this is a more advanced rotation. Summoner is really straightforward. The only big difference is that Mountain Buster is now a risky frontal cone. The new burst now utilizes the new Ruined Fort. Just make sure that when you use your Crimson Cyclone to use it on a void part of the map or ledge to avoid accidentally gap closing into the enemy team. If you do end up in the enemy team, then it would be a great time to use your Mountain Buster, Shield Up, and AoE DPS Runaway. The Red Mage rework destroyed the concept of stance changes entirely, now having those baked in. With the new buffs given to the job, it is a delicate balance of how to weave your actions. Refulgence and Scorch positioning are interchangeable in this rotation. Personally, I just like a bigger dot damage from Scorch. If your 4T shields break, weave Vice of Thorns before your next damage GCD. Picto hasn't changed much, minus now being able to paint just a little bit faster. This rotation will feature Claw, as I personally see it more deadly with its reduction to healing potency when compared to its safer self-buffing Palm variant. I will note that the direction of Smudge depends on if you are running away, then away from the enemy, and if aggressing, then towards. Also pause here for the Palm variant of the combo. Blowing open the doors for physical range is Bard. Having Blast Arrow perform an AoE knockback makes it strong against over-aggroing enemy teams. Despite the changes, the triple Blast Apex Blast is still a viable general combination. To add some variety with the new Pitch Perfect, you would try out something similar to this rotation. And for added flavor, your LB would slot here to cripple them even more. Machinist took a big hit in its OGCDs. Almost every action, minus analysis and turret, is on global cooldown. Previously, I would say Bio over Chainsaw for AoEs, however, new damage taken debuff on Chainsaw changes that. Bio is still great for no setup AoE damage. And if you really want to hurt one specific person while doing AoE damage, you want to swap out your knockback for Drill and then LB at the end. I think out of all the jobs, Stancer stayed the most consistent for its damage burst. Sure, its buff timers have been halved, but the rotation with Saber Dance is roughly still the same. And if you're using Honing Ovation, your burst damage will be lower, however, your overall damage will be significantly higher. And Dance of the Dawn, when you do get it, just slot it where Saber Dance is. Now onto melee, but wait! Same as Picto, as of release of this video, we currently have guides for Reaper, Monk, and Ninja. For other multiple combos, check those out. Let's do a new face first. Viper. Being honest, the AoE combo is kinda uninspiring since you no longer have your damage buffs. The simplest AoE combo is just using your ranged attacks for consistent damage looping while using pulls to refresh it. One of the safest variations for damage with your LB is to do 1 or 2 generations plus the OGCD legacies before ending with Ouroboros, then immediately into snake skills to utilize the long animation to heal you while you look for a TP out. Reaper does feel way more slow paced when it comes to stacking your sacrifice stacks. However, its ability to sustain in a fight is a lot stronger now. If you want a sustained approach over damage, you would use your shield in the middle of your rotation, preventing you from overcapping in the beginning with Harvest, while bolstering your mid-fight heal potential. For the LB finisher variant, if you have roughly 5 stacks of Plentiful, this option allows you to save Perfectio until after Death Warrant pops. Note, all GCDs can be swapped for Harvest Moon for more sustain. Samurai, in my opinion, is the ultimate gambler job, but let's try to increase those odds by delaying your T10 until you engage. If you are tanking / first engage for your team, binding is kind of a must. However, when you LB, it's more important to bind later to maximize locking down the people who hit your T10 while preventing nearby monk and ninja LBs. As a filthy Sam tip, try not to use guard when you cheat in as it is too obvious, unless you know you're gonna die. With the new ranged single target attack and the new ranged AoE attack, Monk has more options at its disposal. You can use this ranged combo in the enemy team if you want, it is a viable option, though you will soon realize the damage feels like it takes forever to arrive. This isn't a bad thing, as you can combo actions together based on their animations to make them all relatively hit at the same time to deal big burst damage. Timing and order is important, so practice until you get it right. Yes, you may deal less net damage, but you will be more safer, so choice is yours. Dragoon was hit hard in the recent updates, which means for you to even do decent damage, it's imperative for you to stay in life with Dragon as long as you can. Like Monk, practice setting up ahead of time to have your cooldowns ready when needed. Since Elusive is both your damage enabler when unlocking with it, the rotation is a little strict, but you can Elusive jump roughly when it's time to disengage if you haven't already. For the LB, try to time the end of Life of the Dragon near when you drop down to mitigate damage dealt when you land. Ninja always shined in its single target burst damage. Not so much in AoE burst damage, but does have good sustain. With the snapshot changing how Doton works in matches, causing it to be inconsistent to get your max AoE value, it pushes players to be in the enemy team to drop Doton before TPing out. On the plus side, there was a bug fix that changed its single target combo completely, allowing you to have a strong stun, assassinate, stun, LB combo that will kill even if they have their guard up. Most of the tanks have gotten a quality of life rework that make them feel a little bit better, except one. Opening up is Paladin, which did get a net damage increase for Crystalline Conflict. It hits harder and stronger with more single target damage. That did not translate to front lines with its game mode job specific damage reduction, making it feel like a wet noodle. Shield bombing is still a viable strat, plus there is now more healing potential with the addition of more damage after your bomb burst. Your LB combo is generally still the same, plus or minus a couple actions. Just make sure that you have your sword stance and your shield smite debuff on the enemy to do 20% more damage than base. Gunbreaker feels a lot more fluid for general gameplay in my opinion, with your nebula and heals now trapped to actions. The base combo is pretty simple. I tried to change it around, it's literally exactly what you think it is, trust me. The only real issue is when you have your LB up, as you kind of have two options. LB before you fade Circle and Brand means you'll do net overall more damage, but will be more squishier. This is safer to do if you have a stronger team or have support. LB after would mean you are safer with Nebula mitigation when you LB, but you'll be missing out on damage follow-up. To be honest, I suggest you doing this in solo play as it's easier for you to stay alive. Being the job that got the most substantial nerfs in frontline, Dark Knight is more squishier than ever. To add on, the new snapshot now also makes it more difficult to land your pulls. It's one of the few jobs where purifying before each engage will drastically improve your survival. LB is still generally used as a survival tool, but in combos you can get something roughly like this. Though the rotation and location of Impalement and Shadowbringers will be based solely on if you have good healers or if you're solo playing, since HP is a resource and the more you have, the more you do. Oh, obviously your AoE will also skyrocket if you just spam Shadowbringers. Let's talk about the job that gets a ton of HP when it LBs, Warrior. The new snapshot changed Primal Ren, stunning after the animation. It's best used setting up for Mage. There are roughly 2 ways to engage in my opinion. Originating before you heal means you'll do more instant damage at higher HP, or weave between GCDs for stronger sustained damage. Ruination is often last as you can walk away while the animation is going up to get slight heals. The LB combination hasn't really changed from last patch. Opener is still the same. The only big difference is you have a bind after 3 GCDs while in LB, which if you're quick enough you can get twice. Instead of instant spending Primal Wrath, I suggest saving it for your next re-engage so you have a free OGCD bind. Healers or supports, whichever you prefer to call them, don't really have a variety of damage combos. Whitemage is the epitome of this previously mentioned straightforwardness, where your combo outside of its LB is just literally 2 buttons. Speaking of your LB, now that it doesn't give a damage buff, you can use it as an OGCD burst stun before you dive in and heal out. Just remember, it's always safer to play at max ranges. 90% of the time, if your team is very aggressive, you can go in. Currently, the most popular supports to play in premates is Astro or Astrologian. Burst combo is double gravity into Macrocosmo. If you know you'll be taking a lot of damage, just slot Macrocosmo before you double gravity. On a chance you have the Heart of the Cards and pull Lord of the Crown, slot that before everything else to deal extra damage to those you hit. Tip, if you want to be really min-maxing your damage, you can double gravity, TP in, macro, then TP out. Safe, right? Scholar has transformed into a dot bot for damage. You do have more heals when you LB, so that's nice. Also, I do find it cool though that Seraph is now placeable just on cooldown. Your main damage source is bio. Just make sure that in front lines you dot a squishy like ranged DPS or healer after you afflict them with chain stratagem to deal the most damage when you spread. Tip, for spreading, you can still double spread or single spread, that's up to you. But if you want to gain assist more, try using your Adlo on yourself and then spreading it to nearby teammates to get assist farms. Keep this in mind, your LB gives a free recitation to enhance your dot spread, but don't be slow, you will lose out on net damage. If that's too hard, just spam Seraphic Halos. I will fight on my soapbox. Sage is probably the most complex support out there, with a good variety of combos and a decent disengage tool. Now, I will state first, the safe range poke is an option, though it is not properly utilizing all of Sage's kit to its best potential. Setup is important, but I recommend the preferred playstyle of dive bomb pulling for you disengage. This allows for stronger crowd control while taking space for a team. If you really want a min-max rotation, you would self-LB before engaging to take no damage when you are dive bombing, before disengaging, then dropping the LB on the enemies. Alright, that's it. These videos do take a lot of time and effort, so if you want to support more content like this, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, you know, all the cool stuff. Check out the VODs to see these jobs in action, And if you want more detailed info for other game modes like CC or Rival Wings, check out the Discord. But that's it for me. So for now, happy hunting, fellow wolves. Bye.